You've been fighting battles most people will never understand, while others live on the surface, chasing validation, status, or fleeting pleasures. You've been pushed into the depths of your soul, not because you were weak, but because you were chosen. You've experienced loss, betrayal, heartbreak, and isolation, not as punishment, but as preparation. Life stripped you down to nothing so that your truth could rise untouched by illusion. And yet, here you are, still standing. Not broken, but awakened. You didn't ask for this path. No one signs up for spiritual warfare voluntarily. But deep down, your soul agreed to this before you even entered this world. It knew that in order to bring light into darkness, it would first have to understand the shadows. That's why you were born into dysfunctional families, placed in toxic environments, or surrounded by people who didn't recognize your value. The world may have called it suffering, but your spirit called it training. You might wonder why your life has been so difficult compared to others. Why do they get to live peacefully while you've been fighting for every breath, every breakthrough? It's because you weren't sent here to live a normal life. You were sent here to shift timelines, break generational curses, and awaken dormant souls. Chosen ones carry ancient wisdom, and with that wisdom comes weight. But you've carried it with a quiet strength most wouldn't survive. Think about it. How many times did you want to give up? How many nights did you cry yourself to sleep, praying for relief, asking for answers? And yet, something always kept you going. That something was your light. It flickered, but it never died. It refused to be extinguished. That inner glow, fueled by purpose, truth, and divinity, is the very thing the world tried to crush but couldn't. That's how you know you're chosen. Because even when stripped of everything, your soul still glows. And now, as your awareness expands, you're beginning to see the truth. None of it was wasted. Every wound was a window into your higher self. Every betrayal was a redirection toward your divine path. You were never losing. You were shedding. And now, the version of you that was hidden behind pain is ready to be revealed. If this resonates with your soul, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Awakened Era. This is your tribe. Comment below, what silent battles have shaped you into who you are today? Your voice matters here. From the moment you could understand the world, you felt different. It was more than just an awkwardness or a sense of isolation. It was as if your spirit was tuned to a frequency most couldn't hear. While others seemed to drift through life, easily fitting into societal molds, you felt a deep longing for something more. It wasn't a matter of wanting attention or recognition. It was a spiritual pull, an understanding that your life's purpose was far beyond ordinary existence. As you got older, the weight of this difference only grew heavier. You faced resistance at every turn. Family members who didn't understand your path, friends who thought you were strange, and a world that felt constantly out of sync with your heart. This wasn't just a life of random misfortune. No, this was spiritual warfare, a battle you could feel but could never quite explain. You weren't just fighting against external circumstances. You were fighting the very forces that wanted to keep you small, silent, and hidden. And now, as you move forward, the weight doesn't feel quite as heavy. You've begun to realize that these challenges are not meant to break you, but to mold you into something unstoppable. Awakened Era believes in the strength of chosen ones like you. Comment below. Have you ever felt like an outsider? How did you come to embrace your uniqueness? Let's share our experiences and help one another rise. Resilience isn't something you can simply learn from a book or pick up by watching others. It's earned in the most painful ways, through the moments that broke you, but didn't destroy you. Your resilience has been tested time and time again, and yet, here you are. Each time life knocked you down, you found a way to stand back up, sometimes crawling, sometimes barely breathing, but always standing. That is the power of the chosen ones. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain or hardship. It's about surviving it and emerging stronger. Every time you thought you couldn't go on, something inside you refused to surrender. It was your inner light, your spirit, and your soul that whispered to you, "This too shall pass." You may not have known it then, but each hardship you faced was preparing you for a mission that's much bigger than yourself. You are being shaped into a leader, a guide, and a beacon for others who would follow. They may have stolen your peace, your trust, and even your sense of worth, but there's one thing they could never take: your gift. This gift is something that resides deep within you. It's the unique combination of strengths, talents, and insights that makes you who you are. They can take your material possessions, your reputation, and your relationships, but they cannot take your essence. That essence is what makes you a chosen one. The world may have tried to dim your light, to suppress your gifts, but it failed. It's in your darkest moments when you realize just how powerful this gift truly is. In the silence of your pain, you began to tap into a wellspring of strength, wisdom, and vision that has always been there. This gift is not just something you were born with, it's something you were born for. You are the keeper of ancient wisdom and divine potential, and the world needs that light now more than ever. Even in the times when you felt broken, lost, or empty, your gift was still there. It whispered to you in moments of clarity and revealed itself through your resilience. It's not a gift that can be easily seen by others because it's spiritual. It's something that can only be recognized by those who have walked a similar path. But now, as you begin to understand the magnitude of what you carry, you realize that nothing can suppress the light within you. You've spent so many years in the shadows trying to blend in, trying to hide your true self. But now you're beginning to understand something powerful. You were never meant to hide. Your light was never meant to be dimmed. You were born to shine, and the world needs your brilliance more than ever. That light inside you is divine. Its purpose is to illuminate the way for others who are still lost in the dark. Think about the times when you tried to suppress your true nature, when you held back from speaking your truth or stepping into your purpose out of fear of rejection or judgment. But no matter how hard you tried, your light refused to stay hidden. It would slip through the cracks, glowing brighter and brighter until it became impossible to ignore. And now that light is ready to shine in ways you never imagined possible. It wasn't easy to get here. You've had to navigate the darkness, both outside and inside yourself. But the divine light within you was always there, guiding you even when you couldn't see it. It was leading you through the storms, showing you the way when you were lost. Now, as you fully embrace your power and purpose, you realize that your light is not just for you. It's for the world. There's a unique kind of heartbreak that comes when people you love walk away. It stings, not just because of the loss, but because of the confusion. Why did they leave when your love was so genuine? As a chosen one, you may have felt this abandonment over and over, and yet each time you kept giving, kept hoping. But what you didn't realize at the time is that every departure was divine redirection. Where man failed you, God was quietly stepping in. We often expect comfort from people, not realizing that our true strength comes from within and from above. Those who left didn't see your light because it blinded them. They couldn't handle your calling, your vision, or your heart, and that's okay. Their leaving wasn't rejection, it was protection. God saw what you couldn't. He removed those not aligned with your destiny, and when they exited your life, He entered in a way you could finally feel. It's during those loneliest nights when you questioned your worth that God was closest. You may have thought you were alone, but divine hands were carrying you through the darkness. God doesn't need a crowd to do miracles. He just needs your trust. The empty spaces others left were only preparing room for His blessings. And in that solitude, your spirit was being rebuilt stronger, deeper, and more connected to purpose. Many chosen ones carry burdens that seem too heavy to explain. That's because you weren't just born for your life. You were born to break generational curses. You are the chain breaker, the one your ancestors prayed for in silence, the one sent to shift the entire lineage. It's why your battles feel harder. It's why your pain runs deeper. But it's also why your power is greater. You may not realize it yet, but the trauma you faced wasn't random. The dysfunction in your family, the patterns of poverty, abuse, addiction, or silence, they were passed down like dark inheritances. And while everyone else conformed, you questioned. You saw the pain and said, "This ends with me." That choice made in the depths of your soul is what makes you chosen. It takes immense courage to go against generations of programming. While others went numb, you stayed awake. While others ignored the pain, you faced it head on. That is spiritual warfare on the highest level. You spoke truths they silenced. You brought light into shadows that had been dark for centuries. That is sacred work, and it doesn't go unnoticed in the spiritual realm. You might wonder why you've been misunderstood, attacked, or excluded. It's not because you were doing something wrong. It's because your light was too bright. People who are stuck in darkness will often try to put out any flame that reminds them of their own unhealed wounds. You didn't provoke them. You awakened them. And for some, that was too much. You carry something different. It's in your voice, your energy, your presence. It makes people uneasy when they're not ready to grow. Your existence challenges their comfort zones. You mirror their potential and their pain. So rather than heal, they attack. That's what happens to the chosen ones. You don't fit the mold because you were sent to break it. But every attempt to dim your light has only taught you how to shine stronger. You've learned discernment, you've learned how to protect your energy, and most importantly, you've learned that your light is not dependent on external validation. Whether they praise you or persecute you, your glow remains divine. You no longer beg for approval. You no longer shrink to fit in. Because now you understand, your light isn't for everyone, and that's okay. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be impactful. You are the reminder that we can rise above pain, programming, and limitation. You are a beacon, not a mirror. No matter how much you try to live a normal life, something always calls you back. That whisper in your soul that says, you were made for more. You may have tried to suppress it through distractions, relationships, or even self-sabotage, but it never goes away. That's the call of the chosen. It's a sacred calling, not always loud, but persistent. You feel it when you're alone. When everything gets quiet and the distractions fall away, it echoes through your being. It says, you are not like the rest. You have work to do. Rise. And no matter how far you drift, the call brings you home to yourself. The reason you can't find peace in mediocrity is because your spirit was designed for greatness. You are a vessel for divine purpose, and the universe will never let you forget that. The call might feel like discomfort, longing, or restlessness, but it's actually divine urgency. You are being summoned by a higher plan. There are people who watched your life unravel and assumed you'd never rise again. But what they didn't understand is that chosen ones are not broken by fire. They are forged in it. Every betrayal, every failure, every sleepless night was not the end of you. It was the making of you. Fire does not destroy the chosen. It activates them. You've walked through emotional infernos that would have crushed others. People saw your pain, but they didn't see your resilience. You cried silently, suffered privately, and yet still showed up with grace and purpose. That's because deep within you is a divine blueprint, a soul forged in spiritual iron, not fragile ego. They thought they buried you, not knowing you were a seed. Chosen ones go through more because they're built to lead more. The fire taught you things comfort never could. It refined your character, exposed your truth, and destroyed anything false. It peeled away the superficial until only the real remained. And now you're rising, not in spite of the fire, but because of it. When people say you've changed, they don't realize they're witnessing evolution. They're seeing a soul that chose purpose over pain, transformation over trauma. You are no longer who you were, and that's the whole point. Fire doesn't leave you the same. It purifies, it clarifies, and it prepares you for greater. Being sensitive in a world that rewards numbness is a superpower, though it may not always feel that way. You may have been told you're too emotional, too deep, or too intense. But what they call weakness is actually a spiritual radar. Chosen ones are often born with heightened sensitivity because you're here to feel what others avoid. You can walk into a room and sense the energy before anyone says a word. You pick up on unspoken pain, tension, and truth. This is not imagination. It's intuition. It's your divine guidance system alerting you to what's real beneath the surface. And though it can be overwhelming at times, it is also what makes you a light bearer in a dark world. One of the hardest seasons for chosen ones is the season of isolation. You suddenly feel disconnected from everyone, friends, family, even yourself. It feels like life placed you in a desert, and you're unsure why. But this solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. God isolates before He elevates. In isolation, distractions are stripped away. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. Your spiritual vision sharpens. What once comforted you now feels empty, and that's because you're being recalibrated for something greater. It's during these seasons you meet your true self, the version not shaped by society, expectations, or fear. While others are out building images, you're in solitude building your soul. That's what makes your growth so real and lasting. You're not performing, you're becoming. You're being rooted in truth, in alignment, in spiritual depth. And when the time is right, the world will see the version of you that had to be hidden first. Have you ever walked into a room and the atmosphere shifted? Not because you said anything, but simply because you entered. That's energy, and chosen ones carry it in powerful, undeniable ways. You don't need to speak to command attention. Your aura does the talking. Your energy is your frequency. It carries your healing, your light, your story. People pick up on it even if they don't consciously understand it. Some feel drawn to you instantly. Others may feel threatened. Either way, your presence has an effect. That's the mark of someone spiritually awakened. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when they realize, I'm not like the rest. It might have happened in childhood or maybe later in life, but at some point you sensed it. You didn't fit in. You thought differently, felt more deeply, questioned everything others accepted blindly. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out. That inner knowing, that quiet rebellion, it was your soul remembering its mission. You saw things others couldn't. You heard what others ignored, and it made you different in the most divine way. Being different wasn't always easy. It meant rejection. It meant loneliness. It meant constantly explaining yourself to people who never truly saw you. But with time, you realized your difference was your divine distinction. It's what marked you. It's what made you chosen. The pain you've endured wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. It was sacred. Every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal was a portal, a doorway that led you closer to your power. Chosen ones do not awaken in comfort. They awaken in crisis. And your darkest moments have secretly been your most transformative. When you were crying out, "Why me?" the universe was whispering, "Because you were chosen to rise." That deep emotional wound you carry, it became the exact spot where light entered you. You had to be broken open so your true essence could emerge. The pain cracked your ego, and what spilled out was your divine potential. Think about it. If life had stayed easy, you would have stayed asleep. If they hadn't taken everything from you, you never would have discovered what can never be taken: your light. That's the part of you that remains unshaken, unbothered, untouchable. That's the eternal flame within you. That's your source. No matter what they took from you, they could not cancel what God placed inside you. The call on your life is divine. It was written before you were born. It cannot be deleted by betrayal, dimmed by rejection, or destroyed by failure. It is anchored in something far beyond this world. Yes, life tried to bury you. Yes, people tried to silence you. But they didn't realize you're not operating on their timeline. You're aligned with divine timing. And what's meant for you is not just a possibility, it's a promise. It may delay, but it won't deny. The call on your life is too great to be stopped by temporary pain. This is why you've been through so much, because your destiny is so significant. You were chosen to lead, to heal, to awaken others. That's why you were targeted. But every setback was secretly a setup. What looked like endings were actually new beginnings in disguise. When your spiritual awakening began, it likely felt like your whole world was falling apart. But what was actually happening was your false self falling away. The version of you that was shaped by pain, fear, conditioning, that version had to die so your true essence could be revealed. It wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. You started seeing through illusions. You no longer resonated with shallow conversations, toxic relationships, or soulless work. Your soul was rising to the surface, and with it came the end of who you used to be, and the beginning of who you really are. Let's be honest. They didn't reject you because you were weak. They rejected you because you were powerful. Your light triggered their darkness. Your clarity exposed their confusion. Your truth made their lies uncomfortable. And instead of doing the inner work, they tried to dim you. But here's the truth. Your light is not up for negotiation. It is not something to shrink to make others feel safe. It's not something you need to justify, explain, or tone down. It's your birthright. Chosen ones often attract jealousy, envy, and projection, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they're doing something real. You walk in alignment, and that threatens those who live in denial. You've paid the price for your light. Now it's time to walk in it unapologetically. At some point, your healing becomes more than personal. It becomes purpose. Your journey wasn't just about you. It was about those who would watch you rise and realize they could rise too. That's what it means to be chosen. You heal so others can be healed through your story. You are a lighthouse now. People look to you for guidance, comfort, hope, not because you're perfect, but because you're real, because you've walked through the fire and still carry warmth, because you've been to the bottom and came back with blueprints. Leadership doesn't always look like a stage or a microphone. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace in chaos. It looks like breaking generational curses in silence. It looks like showing up with love in a world full of fear. That's real leadership. That's divine leadership. You've been through enough to justify bitterness. You've been wronged in ways most will never understand. But here's what makes you different. You chose redemption over revenge. You chose healing over hate. You let life refine you instead of define you. This is the power of a chosen one. You don't return harm with harm. You transform it. You transmute it. You take the poison they gave you and make it into medicine, not just for yourself, but for the world. That's the highest level of alchemy. That's spiritual royalty. And now, the people who thought they broke you are watching you glow in grace, not because you sought revenge, but because you outgrew the battlefield. You rose higher. You healed louder. And the peace you carry now, that's your ultimate victory. You've learned to release, forgive, evolve. And because of that, you're now being elevated. You are being prepared for things beyond your imagination. This chapter is not about what they did to you. It's about what God is doing through you. To every chosen one watching this, remember who you are. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not here by accident. You are the light in a world that tried to dim you. And no matter what they took, they could never take your essence, because it was never theirs to hold. The pain you went through, the losses you endured, the betrayals you survived, they didn't destroy you. They revealed you. You are still standing, still rising, still radiating. And if that's not divine power, I don't know what is. You were chosen for a reason. You carry something sacred. And it's time to walk boldly into the purpose that pain prepared you for. The world may not always understand you, but your light is not for them to understand. It's for them to feel. Keep shining. If this message spoke to your soul, hit that like button, subscribe to Awakened Era, and comment below, "They didn't take my light." Let's flood this space with power, presence, and purpose. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their story isn't over. It's just getting started. You're not just surviving, you're ascending. And this is your era. This is the awakened era.